She looked awful, sir. You rang, madam?
Yes, Jane. Bring me some tea, will you?
Of course, madam.
Jane, is that you?
Yes, sir?
Did I hear Mrs. Barclay come in?
Yes, sir, she's in the morning room.
The morning room?
Yes, sir, I'm just about to take her a pot of tea.
Tea? What does she want tea for at this hour?
And that presumably was the last time that anyone saw Colonel Barclay alive.
Yes, sir.
Can you think of any reason why your mistress came into this morning room at that time of night when the fire was unlit?
No, sir.
Did she often make a point of purposely avoiding the Colonel? Had you ever heard them arguing before?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
When you returned from the kitchen with Mrs. Barclay's tea, you found the door locked and you heard voices raised. Now, what exactly did you hear?
They were arguing, sir. Mrs. Barclay called the Colonel a coward. She said, "You have ruined my life all these years." Mrs. Barclay shouted the name David. She said it twice.
David?
Could you swear to that?
It was perfectly clear, sir.
But the Colonel's name was James.
Have you ever heard Mrs. Barclay refer to anyone called David?
No, sir. I don't think she or the Colonel knew anyone by the name of David.
And Major Murphy's Christian name is Patrick. Had they had any visitors recently by the name of David?
I don't think so, sir.
The club that was found by Colonel Barclay's body, had you seen it before?
No, sir. The Colonel had several trophies from India, but nothing like that club.
Are you sure of that, Miss Stewart?
Yes, sir. I don't know where it came from.
Thank you, that is all. Oh, no, there is just one last thing. Major Murphy once left his cigar case here. Did you manage to find it?
Yes, sir.
The Colonel was lying down here, sir.
With his head by the fender?
Yes, sir. You can see the mark of the blood still. But the most frightening thing of all, sir, was his face.
His face?
When I rolled him over, I almost fainted away to look upon it. It was all contorted, screwed up, with the most horrible look of fear and terror.
As if he'd foreseen his own death?
Quite possible, sir.
Thank you, Bate.
Not Nancy Barclay, for sure.
This door was locked shut, sir. And what's more, the key was missing.
Missing?
Yes, in the end we had to send for a locksmith to open it.
You have made a thorough search for the key.
We searched high and low. Mrs. Barclay hadn't got it, and it wasn't in the Colonel's pocket, sir.
Thank you, Mrs. Fanning. Watson, if the key was not in the door, and neither Mrs. Barclay nor the Colonel had it, then?
Then there must have been a third person.
Exactly. Who either entered or left through those windows. These are Bates's footprints. And these are the footprints of someone else. Watson, look at this.
What is it?
Our intruder had a somewhat unusual companion.
It's a dog, isn't it? Somebody's dog.
You ever heard of a dog running up a curtain?
What about a cat, then?
These paw marks are not those of a cat, not of a monkey, not of any creature that we are familiar with. I would think from hind foot to forefoot, at least 15 inches at about the length of neck and head. You have a creature of no less than 2 feet, more if there's a tail. And the length of its stride is odd. It indicates a creature with a long back and short legs.
Something like a stoat or a weasel?
We also know that it is carnivorous.
How can you tell that?
Well, you see, what made it run up the curtain?
A canary.
Exactly.
Then what was this beast?
I can't. I cannot betray a friend. Please don't ask me to.
Miss Morrison. When Mrs. Barclay left her house to come here 2 nights ago, she was happy and contented. When she returned 2 hours later, she was a changed woman. Now the police suspect her of murder. You owe it to your friend to clear her name. You must tell me what happened last night that so changed her.
Very well. I shall break my promise of silence if what I can say can really help her.
So there was something.
It was most bizarre. I should explain that we come across all sorts and conditions of men here. Yet the other night, I saw the most extraordinary creature I have ever seen. Not only had he a crooked back, but he was lame and walked with his knees bent. His face was darkly tanned, crinkled and puckered like a withered apple. I thought to myself that truly there are some of us on this earth who are burdened with more than their fair share of misfortune. This vision was made more unusual by the oriental garb the man was wearing. I pointed this person out to Nancy as someone especially deserving of help. Nancy had indeed been in good spirits that evening, and I saw her go towards the man and ask him if he needed assistance. It was now that a change came over Nancy. She had begun a conversation with the man when suddenly all the color drained from her face. She looked as though she had seen a ghost. The man, too, seemed to be strangely affected by the sight of her, and I saw him gesticulating wildly. Well, Nancy and the man went to a quiet corner of the hall, and they talked together for a few moments or so before I heard an angry shout from the man and saw him storm out, waving his fists in the air. What is it? Are you all right? Who was that poor creature?
Oh, it's an old acquaintance of mine, fallen on hard times.
Promise me, Annie, you won't say anything about this to anyone. Promise me.
Of course I promise. If you so wish.
Thank you.
And the identity of this man?
I thought you might ask me that. Well, after this terrible happening, Nancy left. I naturally made a few inquiries among some of the regulars. Such an unusual-looking creature has, of course, attracted attention. It appears he is an old soldier recently back from India. And no one knows anything else about his background, except that he makes a living by entertaining the troops. Conjuring tricks, that kind of thing.
That is our intruder's four-footed companion.
It's a mongoose.
I think we found our man. Mr. Henry Wood, I believe, native India. May I have a word?
What about?
The little matter of Colonel James Berkeley's death.